Welcome back to Calm Investors. I am Ruth.
And I am Patrick, Episode 4 of Season 0. We are building the foundation.
So last episode, we went deep on debt. We talked about good debt versus bad debt, the terrifying math of credit card interest, and the two strategies for killing bad debt, snowball and avalanche. The big takeaway was that debt is not a moral failing. It is a math problem, and math problems have solutions.
Right, and the homework was to list all your debts, pick a strategy, and set up autopay. I actually did mine. I went with Snowball because I need those quick wins, and I have to say, just having a plan made me feel 10 times better.
That is exactly what happens. The plan is half the battle now. Today we are going to talk about something that works hand in hand with your debt payoff plan. Something that prevents you from sliding backward, because here is the scenario I see all the time. Someone starts paying off their credit cards. They are making progress, they are feeling good. And then their car breaks down, or they get a medical bill, or they lose their job. And because they do not have cash set aside, they put it right back on the credit card, 2 steps forward, 2 steps back.
That has literally happened to me. I paid off a card, felt great, and then my car needed new brakes. $800, right back on the card.
And that is not a failure of willpower. That is a failure of systems. You did not have a safety net. And without a safety net, every unexpected expense becomes a crisis. That is what today is about: the emergency fund.
The financial seatbelt, as you called it last episode.
Exactly. And I want to start with a stat that should make everyone sit up straight. 56% of Americans cannot cover a $1,000 emergency let. That sink in. More than half the country is one unexpected expense away from financial crisis. One car repair, one emergency room visit, one broken appliance, and they do not have the cash to handle it.
56%. That is more than half. That means if you are listening to this and you do not have an emergency fund, you are in the majority. You are not alone.
You are absolutely not alone. And the good news is, this is one of the most fixable problems in personal finance. It does not require special knowledge. It does not require a high income. It just requires a system and a little bit of time.
Okay, so let us start at the beginning. What exactly is an emergency fund? And how is it different from just having money in your checking account?
Great question. An emergency fund is money that is set aside specifically for unexpected, necessary expenses. It is separate from your regular checking account. It is separate from your savings for a vacation or a new phone. It has one job and one job only: to catch you when life throws something unexpected at you.
So it is not money you dip into for a sale at your favorite store?
Definitely not. And this is important. An emergency fund is not an investment. It is insurance against life. You are not trying to grow this money. You are not trying to earn a big return on it. You are trying to make sure it is there when you need it. Safe, liquid, and accessible.
Okay, but here is what I do not understand. If I am trying to pay off debt, why would I also be saving money at the same time? Should I not throw everything at the debt first?
This is one of the most common questions I get, and the answer is, you need both, running in parallel. Here is why: if you put every dollar toward debt and you have zero savings, you are one emergency away from going right back into debt. We just talked about this with your car breaks story. The emergency fund is what breaks that cycle.
So it is like a shield that protects your debt payoff progress.
Exactly. Now, while you are aggressively paying off debt, you do not need a full emergency fund. A starter emergency fund of $1,000 to $2,000 is enough to cover most common emergencies: a car repair, a medical copay, a broken appliance. Once your high-interest debt is gone, then you build the full emergency fund.
That makes sense. So what is the full emergency fund? How much are we talking about?
The standard recommendation is 3 to 6 months of essential expenses, and I want to emphasize that word, expenses, not income. There is a big difference. If you earn $5,000 a month, but your essential expenses, rent, food, utilities, insurance, transportation, are $3,500. Then your target is 3,500 times 3 to 6, not 5,000 times 3 to 6.
Oh, that is a really important distinction. So I am calculating based on what I need to survive, not what I earn.
Right. Essential expenses. The things you absolutely must pay to keep a roof over your head, food on the table, and the lights on. Not your streaming subscriptions, not dining out, the bare essentials.
And why the range? Why 3 to 6 months? How do I know which end I should aim for?
It depends on your situation. If you have a stable job with a reliable income, 3 months might be enough. If you are self-employed, work on commission, or are in an industry with frequent layoffs, aim for 6 months. If you are a single-income household with dependents, 6 months minimum. The more uncertainty in your income, the bigger your cushion should be.
That makes sense. More risk, more cushion.
Exactly. Now, let us talk about what actually counts as an emergency, because this is where people get tripped up.
Yeah, I was going to ask that, like, is a flat tire an emergency? Is a broken phone an emergency?
Good examples. An emergency is something that is unexpected, necessary, and urgent. Your car breaks down and you need it to get to work? Emergency. You lose your job? Emergency. You have a medical bill you did not see coming? Emergency. Your furnace dies in the middle of winter? Emergency.
Okay, and what is not an emergency?
A vacation. A new phone because yours is 2 years old. Concert tickets. A sale on something you want but do not need. Holiday gifts. These are wants, not emergencies. And I know that sounds obvious, but you would be surprised how many people raid their emergency fund for things that are not emergencies, and then have nothing left when a real emergency hits.
So the rule is, if it is not unexpected, necessary, and urgent, it is not an emergency.
That is the test. 3 criteria: unexpected, necessary, urgent. All 3 have to be true.
All right, so where do you actually keep this money? Because you said it should not be in stocks, and I am guessing under the mattress is not the answer either.
No mattresses. The best place for your emergency fund is a high-yield savings account. These are savings accounts, usually at online banks, that pay significantly more interest than a traditional savings account at a big bank right now. Many high-yield savings accounts are paying 4 to 5%. Compare that to the 0.01% you might be getting at a traditional bank.
Wait, 4 to 5% versus 0.01%? That is a massive difference.
It is on a $10,000 emergency fund. A traditional bank pays you about $1 a year in interest. A high-yield savings account pays you $400 to $500. Same money, same safety, dramatically different return.
Why does anyone keep money in a traditional savings account?
Inertia. Mostly people open an account at whatever bank is nearby and never think about it again. But switching is easy. You can open a high-yield savings account online in about 10 minutes, and your money is just as safe. These accounts are federally insured up to $250,000, just like any other bank account.
Good to know now. I want to ask about something you mentioned earlier. The psychology of this. You said knowing you have an emergency fund changes how you feel. Can you talk more about that?
This is actually my favorite part of the emergency fund conversation, because the financial benefit is obvious. You have cash when you need it. But the psychological benefit is even bigger. When you have 3 to 6 months of expenses saved, something shifts inside you. You walk differently. You make decisions differently. You are not operating from a place of fear anymore.
What do you mean by that?
I mean that without an emergency fund, every decision is colored by financial anxiety. Should I go to the doctor? Can I afford it? Should I leave this job I hate? I cannot risk it. Should I invest? What if I need that money? The emergency fund removes that anxiety. It gives you options. It gives you the ability to make decisions based on what is right, not what is desperate.
That is powerful. It is not just about the money, it is about the freedom.
Exactly. And here is the test I want everyone to take. I call it the sleep at night test. Can you lose your job tomorrow and be okay for 3 months? Not comfortable, not living your best life, but okay. Rent paid, food on the table, lights on if the answer is no. Building your emergency fund is your #1 financial priority right now.
The sleep at night test, that is a gut check.
It is, and for a lot of people, the honest answer is no, and that is okay. Because now you know, and knowing is the first step to fixing it.
Okay, so here is my concern. 3 to 6 months of expenses sounds like a lot of money. If my essential expenses are $3,000 a month, that is $9,000 to $18,000. That feels impossible when I am also paying off debt.
I hear you, and I want to be really clear about something. You do not need to save $9,000 by next Tuesday. This is a marathon, not a sprint. The goal is to start. Even a small start changes everything.
How small are we talking?
$25 a week. That is it. Can you set aside $25 a week? For most people, that is 2 or 3 delivery orders. One less impulse purchase, it is findable. And here is what $25 a week turns into, even $25 a week is $1,300 in a year. That is more than enough to cover most common emergencies, a car repair, a medical copay, a broken appliance in 1 year. You go from zero safety net to a real one.
$1,300 in a year from just $25 a week. That is actually doable.
It is very doable, and the key is automation. Just like we talked about with debt payments, set up an automatic transfer every payday. $25 moves from your checking account to your high-yield savings account. You do not see it. You do not think about it. It just happens. And in a year, you have a safety net that did not exist before.
Systems beat willpower, there it is again.
Every single time. And here is one more thing. Label the account when you open your high-yield savings account. Name it emergency fund, not just savings, not vacation fund, emergency fund. Because when it has a name, it has a purpose, and when it has a purpose, you are less likely to rate it for non-emergencies.
That is such a simple trick, but I bet it works.
It does. Behavioral economists call it mental accounting. When money has a label, your brain treats it differently. An account called emergency fund feels different from an account called savings. You think twice before touching it.
All right, I am sold. Let us do the recap.
#1. An emergency fund is not an investment, it is insurance against life. Its job is to catch you when something unexpected happens, so you do not go back into debt.
#2. The target is 3 to 6 months of essential expenses, not income. Expenses. More uncertainty in your life means a bigger cushion.
#3. Keep it in a high-yield savings account, not under the mattress, not in stocks, not in your regular checking account, a separate, labeled, high-yield savings account.
#4. An emergency is unexpected, necessary, and urgent. A car repair is an emergency. A vacation is not. A medical bill is an emergency. A new phone is not.
And #5. Your homework. Open a high-yield savings account if you do not have one. Label it emergency fund. Set up an automatic transfer, even $25 a week. Start building your safety net today, not next month today.
I am setting mine up tonight, $25 a week. Let us go.
That is the energy, and remember the sleep at night test. Every dollar you save brings you closer to being able to answer yes.
So what is coming up next?
Next episode, we are talking about something nobody wants to talk about. Insurance. I know it sounds boring, but here's the thing. You can have a perfect debt plan, a beautiful emergency fund, and a growing savings account, and one uninsured medical emergency or one disability can wipe it all out. Insurance is the protection layer that keeps everything else safe.
Insurance. I am already yawning, but I trust you to make it interesting.
Ha! Challenge accepted. I promise you, by the end of that episode, you will understand why insurance is the most boring thing you cannot afford to ignore.
All right, if this episode helped you think about your safety net, follow Calm Investors wherever you are listening, and share this with someone who is one emergency away from a crisis. You might be giving them the push they need to start.
And remember, you do not need to save it all at once. You just need to start. $25 a week. Automate it, label it, and let the system do the work.
See you in episode 5.
See you there. Stay calm, build wealth.